Welcome, everybody. I've got Andy, and we are here to give you an update on Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited. We recognize we've been talking about this new golden age of CCGs. Well, how are we doing here? You have set 4 of Lorcana coming out and set 2 of Star Wars Unlimited. Andy, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. How are you?
It's okay. It's fun to sit here and film these at night rather than go to bed. So I thought we'd start with Lorcana. I kind of thought after set 3, Lorcana was in a bit of a rut. That was my own 2 cents. I didn't think it was that interesting of a set, and it seems like there's a lot of momentum right now in Lorcana. There was recently the Grand Prix, or what event was it when in Atlanta that had 2,000?
The Atlanta Challenge, something like that. It had like 2,000 people, just under 2,000, which is like the equivalent of like one of those like old school Magic Grand Prix circa like 2010, which is pretty neat to see.
Yeah, and I think so the new set I think is actually pretty interesting because set 4 came out in local game stores I think this past week, and it's going to be in retailers. I don't know when I'm going to post this, but it will be out, and I think it does a lot for the meta. And I think they're also being kind of creative with what they're doing. I really love this co-op product that they're putting out, which is the Lorcana Ursula's Chest, Illuminator's Quest. I think this is so cool. I wish I could get my hands on one. It seems like they're already twice over MSRP.
Yeah, I'll try to probably pick one up, but I'm not gonna go crazy and spend $100 on it. I'll try and get it for retail, which is probably like $40 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's 2 pre-constructed decks. They're probably not amazing because they're precons, but if you're familiar with like the old dual decks from Magic, Jace versus Chandra or Elves versus Goblins or something, it probably is reminiscent of like some type of power level like there, where you could like pick this up and you've got 2 ready to go decks. It's co-op, so you can see on this picture there's the Lorcana cards with the gold backs. That's the like Ursula deck. So I guess you could play this with 3 players, 1 person playing as Ursula, 2 people playing as whatever's in those 2 decks. So if you have 3 people for $40-$50, you split it between the 3 of you, $12 each. You've got probably a pretty fun time. And I think that the like big cards are encounter things, so it like changes the way that the Ursula deck works or something like that. So you could probably modify it. Of course, you can bring your own decks or modify the pre-constructed decks and get multiple uses out of it. So it looks like a pretty good product and just an alternate way to play the game, which is always nice to see.
Yeah, I think it also goes back to one of these rules of CCGs that people love precons. This is something Magic discovered like a decade ago, and they've just never looked back because ultimately most people are either net decking or they're using a precon because building a deck is actually something that appeals to maybe 5% of gamers, and everyone else is like, just give me the card list. Like I'm in that 95%. I'm like, what's the what should I build? Tell me what to do, Andy. Like that's the bucket I'm in. And precon products sell really well because people want something ready to play, not something they have to buy 16 boosters to build. Like, drafting is fun, but drafting is still like different than a precon, right? Like those decks are kind of janky. And, so I kind of applaud Lorcana for getting a little creative here and setting up. This reminds me of a WoW TCG raid deck, a little bit, right?
It has very similar vibes to that, or the Coming of Galactus deck for Versus system. Basically all the same type of thing. It's many against one. Arch enemy in Magic has this kind of similar vibe to it. So those are all really fun. If you get a chance to pick up a raid deck for WoW, that's going to be quite a good time. This is probably similar, or at least within the same vein. So yeah, looking forward to this product and actually getting my hands on it to see what it looks like. But yeah, I mean, as far as Lorcana goes, I kind of agree. I think after set 3, it was in a little bit of a rut.
Yeah.
People who wanted the cards probably had the cards that they wanted. First chapter was getting released as like a reprint and was pretty available. You probably couldn't buy like a full booster box. You're probably buying single packs off the rack at Target. I don't know, if you're really trying to hunt for enchanteds or something, that's probably not the best way to go about it. But the card prices themselves are pretty depressed when you look at the price of it on TCG Player. It's not really that expensive to get into. So, I think that they needed something, which the competitive play circuits are hitting right now. Like as of recording, the one in Atlanta just finished up, and there was one also over in France, same weekend. 2,000 players playing, and it's pretty amazing to see. So competitive play, some alternate format stuff, new set. I think there's kind of all hitting at the right time for Lorcana here.
Yeah, I think Lorcana suffered from the much overhyped first set, which was an interesting set, but it was so unavailable that scalpers went and bought up all of sets 2 and 3, anticipating a same price curve. And then it just was actually readily available. And I think there was just some price corrections that happened. And this is why it's not good when scalpers get into these games, because I think they manipulate the market a little bit. I think things have kind of corrected, but you are correct that it seems like the Lorcana market itself is like booster boxes are way under MSRP. It's like $20. I don't know about set 4, but set 2 and 3 are under MSRP, on TCG players. So
right.
All right, well, let's transition a little bit over to, so Lorcana looks like it's in good shape. Actually, the big thing to maybe note is that the guy who won the Atlanta tournament had a homebrew deck. He didn't sort of have...
it wasn't necessarily like a full meta deck. It was amber amethyst, so yellow purple, which the purple deck, or I guess purple, has like some pretty powerful abusive cards. Madam Mim can loop characters over and over again by bouncing them, and then you just get benefits off of some of the different yellow cards. So it was a pretty interesting deck. They gave out a bunch of unique promos that some people are trying to get like 15 grand for on eBay. Good luck to those people if you're gonna get it, but why not? You never know. They seemed the company that was running it seemed a little bit unprepared for running a tournament of that size. So there was issues with this tournament software and just kind of logistical issues that they'll probably need to work out as the competitive scene ramps up into more of these type of bigger tournaments. So, I guess it's kind of a learning curve. It's a little bit unfortunate for some of the people that got the short end of the stick on that. But I think the overall response that I saw online was everybody was pretty much having fun. There were some issues with side events, and you can only register for a few of them, and they give out these tickets, but the stuff that you wanted off the prize wall cost like 1 billion tickets, and you could just never get them. So again, just stuff that they need to kind of work through as far as running a big event, right? It's not Wizards of the Coast that's run, approximately 1 million big events and know how to do it. Kind of like going to a Pastimes Grand Prix, which those all sucked.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people undervalue how hard it is to work on events. But let's move on to Star Wars Unlimited. So Star Wars Unlimited has set 2 coming out. Set 1 is sold out everywhere. It looks like prices are coming down a little bit, but sealed is still impossible to find.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing on that one is like you saw like prices like kind of shoot up and they're starting to plateau off or taper off slowly. And I think that's just a factor of there's no sealed product, and so everybody who was able to buy sealed product or product at the beginning of the game when it first launched, whatever it was in like March, they the price spikes happened as people were exploring decks, because I think at the start there was really just 3 kind of meta decks, right? An Iden Blue, a Boba Green, or Iden Green, Boba Green, and Sabine Green decks. And as people explored the format, there have been other decks, right? Vader Red and Chirrut Red and Emperor Green and all this kind of stuff, like Chewie decks and Luke decks. And there's actually a pretty diverse set of decks that you can build. And there's still probably like best decks, and there's decks that are going to fall into aggro and control and mid-range and such, of course. But as people decided they wanted to explore the format more, they bought up more cards, which of course, spikes the price because there's no new supply. It's all just demand at that point. But now the demand curve's falling off because how many more copies of Vader do I need? How many more copies of Vigilance do I need? How many more copies of, whatever Home One or Millennium Falcon?
And I think the other thing is the lack of sealed product is a big deterrent for new players. Whether we say it's boneheaded open, sealed up or not, it's still like how most people get into stuff. They go in, they buy it. And that's still the instinct that most people have with getting into games is they want to open up something and see what they get, right? And so I think the absolute shortage of sealed right now is causing, not a bunch of new entrants.
Right. So nobody's news really coming into the game as much as you would be if you could just readily go into your LGS and be like, oh, I'll buy 3 packs today. I'll buy a box today. I'll buy two packs today and 2 packs at the end of the week or something. Right. So yeah, you've got all of that. And, hopefully set 2 coming out in about a month-ish. It's supposed to launch sometime in July. I don't know if it's going to be early July or late July, but, this is the filming of this. It's Memorial Day weekend. So you got about a month, maybe 6 weeks till the set 2 comes out. And they've released some pretty cool cards for spoilers. I haven't really seen too many of the legendaries. I think they've only spoiled like 1 or 2 legendaries at this point. But a bunch of new leaders, a bunch of new cards where you read that and you're like, oh, that's an interesting card. So, what's really nice about that is it shows that the team behind Star Wars Unlimited really tried to test out decks and like make meta games. So that, as new sets and new cards get released, they're really going to have an impact on the way you analyze cards from previous sets. Which, that's obviously the goal of pretty much all games, right? But it just shows that there's like a little bit extra thought process put into that to create, cohesive meta games between sets.
No, I agree. I've been pretty impressed with all the set 2, spoilers so far. I think the addition of some new keywords is a bit interesting. I will actually say, and I've been playing Star Wars Unlimited moderately, but it does feel like the meta has gotten a little bit stale-ish, right? This set can't come soon enough, right? To sort of spice stuff up a little bit. Like I do think there's a lot of creativity and a good diversity of decks. It just feels like for me, the base number of mechanics that you have to operate under, I'm kind of like, okay, I got shields, I got experience, I got, ambush, I got, it's like there's maybe 7 or 8 core mechanics that are really solid, but I'm kind of ready for something new.
Yeah, I think the smuggle mechanic where you can like flip up your resource and do whatever the smuggle thing is very good. And really just, you can tell that based on historic games that did the same thing. Versus System WoW and the greatest game of all time, The Spoils, all had a flip up system because they're all based on, you put a resource face down and then you can use that to spend to play other cards, but they all had a way to flip up a card that would do something in your resource, either stay there as like a location, or you could replace itself or whatever it is. And all of those cards are awesome in those games. So I have no doubt that they're not just all going to be, there's going to be some really good stuff going on with smuggle mechanics. So I'm really excited for set 2. It looks good. Sorry to Bill Burr for the terrible artwork on the Miggs Mayfield card. It looks like Ogre from the Goonies.
I feel like I was reading that like maybe they didn't get the character right, or the likeness right. They like a bald guy.
Yeah, they got like an off-brand actor.
Yeah,
the stand-in. Yeah, it looks really kind of bad, but overall, I'm really excited for set 2. and to see all the kind of crazy deck construction stuff that comes on. I'm really still hyped about Star Wars Unlimited. I'm excited for the future of like, you know, multicolored cards where something might have like a green yellow aspect instead of just like yellow, or a base might have two colors, and right, it might be like a blue red base but only have 20 hit points, or you know, so I'm just like pretty hyped about the future of the game. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Star Wars Unlimited in a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, I mean, me too. And I think it's going to come up quick. So as we close out here, I still think we're in this golden age of CCGs. And I think that Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited are being really creative as they move forward here. And I'm impressed with what I see. I'm impressed with the regularity of organized play with both games. Both, you know, my local games, for just an example, has regular play nights of both games in addition to Magic. So I just think there's a nice diversity coming into the scene. They notably don't have a regular play time for Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, but
all collectors in that game. Nobody
yeah,
plays Pokemon.
I agree. But any kind of final thoughts here?
No, I think they're in a good spot. They're going to be trending well over the next, you know, 6 to 9 months as sets 5 and 6 for Lorcana come out, and sets 3 and 4 for Star Wars Unlimited hit later this year. You know, I think they're going to be kind of hitting their stride for both games as to where like the game path is going to go with you know, development of metagames. So excited for
Yeah,
both.
I will say that I think that early on, it's possible that Star Wars Unlimited ate into Lorcana a little bit, and you know, that's maybe something that happened. But I also think that both these games are growing the gaming pool, and that's inherently a good thing. And frankly, Magic should also think that's a good thing, because it's gonna eventually people graduate up to Magic. That's just like the end game for everything.
I graduated out of Magic, but
You'll be back.
nah.
They'll always be back. That's like some like exec at Wizards of the Coast. It's just like going like, they'll be back. They'll always be back.
All right. Well, on that note, remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Have a
And
good night.
thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you later.